Okay. Yeah. Tuesday, 9 a.m. We was getting ready to put this coil assembly back and push button assembly back on the chassis, and we were getting our antenna, our wave magnet antenna connections hooked back in, and this line here comes up and it attaches up here to two of these, this one and that one. Ground shield goes to that one, and the inside lead goes to that one. Well, I noticed here at the end a little fraying of the insulation on the center wire, and was making a test of it here. Pulled it loose from this. Where's my poker? Pulled that loose from that lead right there, or that lug on this coil, and went to check to see if there was continuity between the shielding and the center lead, and it's intermittent. In other words, you'll get, let's see if I can recreate it. We'll put this one on that. Get it in frame here. That okay. Let me turn my meter on to continuity. We'll put that onto there. Yeah. Hopefully you can hear that beep. That might be an issue when it comes to bringing in shortwave or reception on any of those spread bands. So we're going to go ahead and do some surgery on this lead here, and we'll be back. Yeah, we got the sleeving off of the thing, and it's the corrosion is not that big a deal, but the you can see that the insulation is starting to, and that's from I guess all the flexation at this point up here, moving it around, doing whatever over time, busted it loose. But this is pretty soft insulation, but in here you pinch it off and everything, it's liable to crack on you. It's liable not to, fall off like the regular rubber wiring does, but it will probably most definitely crack, especially where they tied it in with this hold down lug at that point. I know testing it, flexing this point made it wet. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and strip this wire out of it, and if that doesn't work, it's going to be plan B. So let me see if I can take some of this braiding back, and because there is a little extra there, we may not have to trash the whole damn line. So stand by. Well, and no luck. It's just a cracking and a fraying more as I go down further and further. You can see I went another about a half an inch. I think I got about 3/4 of an inch of play on here that I could remove and still make the lug on the antenna connection. But the deeper I go down, the more it tends to flake off and break. You can see right there. It's the rubber, the insulation. I don't know if it's rubber or not. This braided shielding is just too tight. It's like being in a girdle, and every time you flex it, you crack the insulation on the inner line. So we're going to opt to replace it. We'll see whether or not we can pull the center lead out of it and pull a new lead in, or push a new lead in, because I'm going to use some 22 solid, and we'll see if we can do that. So stand by for that. Alright, we managed to do alternate plan ZZZ. We put an additional extension lead on the shielding. We took it back there about an inch. I double checked by putting the switching assembly up against where it's going to mount and seeing if it would reach there, and we still had plenty to spare. Well, we didn't have plenty to spare, but we had something to spare, so I didn't have to try to attempt to extract that center loom. That's going to be a difficult pull out, if you could get it out. It's liable, the insulation is liable to stay in if you pull the lead out. So, and then we're going to take some of my braiding here, braided covering, and we'll see if we can't expand it enough to slip it over the ends of this and get it on. If not, I'm going to use some of my larger size, none of this, but I have the next larger size in this sleeving that we can utilize. So stand by for more. Okay, there we come. I had to go to a bigger sleeving. This here was a real easy push on. The fact that it expands makes it real nice and easy. You can kind of like inchworm it all on to your lead. We got some shrink tube down here on the end to shrink it up, keep it from spreading out. We got it shrink tubed on this end. We've got the little sprigs hanging out. Boy, that sure was a bacon saver. Put your donkey in the dirt. What I would suggest using, if you're going to use this stuff, boy, this stuff is great for sleeving off wires and stuff that are just out there exposed. The ends, you can go ahead and squeeze them together and heat them with a small lighter, a torch lighter like that. Or you can put a shrink tube over the end of it and shrink it down over the cut end of the sleeving. What I use is, because you gotta go bigger than the sleeving is, and sometimes it's a little hard to get the same size over the thing. What I use is 3-to-1 shrink tube. I buy it, an assortment of it. And it's 3-to-1 shrink ratio, adhesive lined. So when you heat it, it has a little adhesive on the inside that seals it against the thing. I guess it will make it waterproof, liquid proof, except for the ends that you can't get down on. But when you shrink it around wire insulation, it will seal. And here is the diameter information on the thing where they have in this. So that makes it real nice and clean. I mean, you can go with a 3-to-1 that's larger than your diameter of what you're trying to sleeve or cover, and then it will shrink 3-to-1 and get it down nice and tight and do a seal on it. So there you go for that. So we're going to attempt to put this assembly back on the chassis and get it connected, and get it connected here to the ports. And then I think we've already got the E-caps mounted in. So we're right on the cusp of making a checkout on this one again. So hang on, we'll be back for more. All right, here's the hardware, all the hardware for the clipper. Some fair, not so fair. They're all different. You see this here looks more bronzy, coppery, whatever, and that there is brassy looking. That there is more steel looking. That there is brassy looking. This over here was a little brassy looking to a little copper looking. I'm not sure why all of that is, but we're going to change all that. I have an experiment that I'm going to attempt on this to see about getting all of this looking the same. I had thought about anodizing these, but anodizing sure is can be rather involved if you let it. I don't want to let it. I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm not, because it's just, I think I have most of the materials. I got vinegar and I got some sodium hydroxide, and let's see, what else was there? And I have battery charger, and I have wire, but I don't have sacrificial components to use to anodize this. And besides, most of the stuff that I see on YouTube on anodization, they don't quite look. Now, it may be a little rough state and it needs to be buffed and finished, but it just adds another step onto the doggone complicated stuff that's already got to jump through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little experiment on some of these items, and maybe to these. I got to pull the pins out of those. Well, maybe. We'll see when we get there. Maybe I'll do the feet, John, the feet, and we'll see how that comes out. Now those are rather more simplified than these complex things. So well, I'll get that done. We'll see the result, and if I like it, we're going to do the rest of these things. So, and the hardware is going to be the other issue, this other story. I'm not going to put pins in this like what was before. I'm going to use screws, but not just any screws. They're going to be screws that will complement these things. So stay tuned, we're gonna have more. Alright, here is the case to the Clipper radio chassis. It is all covered. I just got to get the hardware on it. I'm using tape to kind of hold it all together so I could do this presentation. So that is it for the front. Here it is for the back. I still need to gum down a little bit of the inside panel on the back, because I didn't get much glue on it, but I'm going to have to do is put a little silicone on it, and that will hold it in place. But that's it pretty much. I got to get the hardware complete, and then figure out what kind of fasteners we're going to use on it. So we'll take a look at the underside a little bit here to see if we can tip it up without, well, the back just popped loose. There it is. So this thing's going to be ready pretty soon. I hope. So thanks for watching.